Hello lords and ladies, welcome back to Scooby Month on Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. Last year I so desperately wanted to include a review of a Scooby-Doo video game for Scooby Month, but time ran out due to the difficulty I had playing one of the game's levels. This year I decided to make up for last year's blunder, and I will be reviewing Scooby-Doo Classic Creep Capers for the Game Boy Color, developed by Digital Eclipse Software. Another version of this game was released on the Nintendo 64, as well as being planned for a PS1 release until it was cancelled. Due to the limitations of the hardware, the Game Boy Color version differs heavily from its Nintendo 64 counterpart. Whereas the console version features you controlling the gang through multiple levels based on episodes from the TV series, the handheld is restricted to just one, and it's based on the episode Nowhere to Hide. The game is your standard point-and-click adventure game, where you'll swap between various characters, such as Scooby and Shaggy, Velma, Fred, and Daphne, as you collect items you need to use to solve puzzles and find clues. Unfortunately, it's never always clear which character you need to use at first, other than subtle hints such as this part where you're told Velma may know the meaning behind the symbols. Eventually, the gang is further split up and rendered absolutely useless, with Daphne being kidnapped, Fred being locked up, and Velma losing her glasses. For the remainder of the game, you'll control just Scooby and Shaggy. I can't say I wasn't a little bit disappointed that you don't make further use of the rest of the characters. Sure, they do get rescued by the final chapter and help catch the ghost of Hyde, but it's still sad the game sidelines them early on. I'm sure there could have been some puzzles that required multiple characters. There were also a few times where I was left scratching my head at how to proceed, a common aspect of these types of games. I'm not opposed to a little challenge every now and then, but a few puzzles were far too obtuse for me. One example is the doors you enter in this lab. They're randomized and require a specific set of patterns to figure out. I needed a walkthrough to recall that Jekyll's nephew had those numbers, and not just a few numbers, but a ton. You have to enter his room multiple times and write them all down, and even then, I wasn't sure how to use them correctly. Maybe I'm just dense, but it took some time before I realized the numbers matched up with when you entered a door, not when you also exited one. But it took a long amount of trial and error to figure that out. There were a few more moments like this sprinkled throughout the game, but nothing uncommon to these types of games. The doors were just the ones I felt were too unfair, especially with over 7 different combinations. You may have noticed the game takes a lot of liberties when it comes to the episode story when I brought up his nephew. Yes, the game adds a lot of new elements to the story. The aforementioned nephew, a lab filled with Shaggy robots, and Jekyll performing weird experiments. Like, beyond weird. At one point he captures Daphne so he can try out a beauty experiment on her. His robots were previously powered by cheese, and he also tried to invent a horseless carriage. As in a car. As in something that already exists. I understand that the source material wasn't exactly ripe with a lot of parts to make a full game of, but some things added didn't really make too much sense. Much like the episode, the gang suspect that the maid Helga is the real ghost. Unlike the episode, Daphne witnesses Jekyll kidnapping her for his experiments, so I don't get why the gang still suspect her all the way to the very end of the game. It's kinda dumb. Plus, Jekyll has another scientist with him. What happened to him? He got his DNA swapped with a cow's. I have to imagine his life is a living hell right now. Other than that, I must say the game is still pretty fun. A lot more fun than the previous game I played on the SNES, and that's probably because there's no scare meter that operates as a health bar, unlike the N64 version, which does. So you're free to explore at your own pace, and that's just really nice. If you have a Game Boy Color or even a Game Boy Advance lying around, I actually do recommend you play this game. You might have some fun with it. Now, have you played this game as a kid? If you did, what was your experience with it? Let me know down below. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon. Each tier nets you 1 extra entry into the Scooby-Doo giveaway I'll be doing at the end of this month. Thanks for watching, and take care.